name is Michael Sibley. I'm the Director of Communications here at the Alabama State Department of Education. We greatly appreciate your attendance. We understand that this was pretty impromptu, so we thank you guys for coming out. Dr. Mackey has some information that he wants to share. Before he comes up, I just want to let everyone know that after Dr. Mackey's remarks, there will be a small period of time that will open up for questions on the other side of that. If you would, there's a microphone in the back of the room, and I know for those of you who are sitting here, you can hear yourselves just fine in the room. But for those who are watching online, they cannot hear you unless you are behind that microphone in the middle aisle. So if you would make your way to that microphone and ask your questions for the benefit of those who are watching online. With that said, I will bring forth our State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Eric Mackey.
Thank you, Dr. Sibley. Thank you all for coming out this afternoon. I know that it's of course, when we call a press conference in an afternoon like this, you're wondering what's going on. We have distributed a press flyer, and I'm going to pretty much, my comments are going to very closely follow that, and as Dr. Sibley said, we'd be able to take a few questions at the end, but I am here to announce to you that on June 17th, our information services team interrupted an attempted hack on the department. They did interrupt and stop the hack, and the hackers were not able to fully access our system or to lock us out of our system. However, before our information services professionals were able to interrupt and stop the hack, some data were breached, we believe. We began immediately working with the Alabama Attorney General's office, the Alabama Office of Information Technology, both of whom we appreciate. I want to express how much we appreciate their stepping in immediately to support us and to help us. We also brought in federal and state law enforcement and an independent contractor that I won't be able to name, but one that's known for its prowess in anti-hacking technologies. And we began immediately to mitigate the circumstances. This is an ongoing criminal investigation, and therefore there's limited things that we can say and limited information that we can give out at this time. We'll be able to say, though, our services, all services have been restored. Additional cybersecurity protocols have been deployed. I cannot get into the details of what those are, obviously, because of the nature of it being an ongoing investigation, and also because we don't want to give out public information on what kinds of technology protocols are in place. I would also like to say that you know, like others that have been hit, other public schools have been hit, agencies, hospitals, businesses, and this has become, unfortunately, almost commonplace across our country, where these criminal syndicates, foreign criminal syndicates, attack American institutions like they attacked ours. And while this is disheartening and disappointing, we are not going to negotiate with foreign actors or extortionists, and we've made that very clear. The FBI has made it clear that they never recommend negotiating with these foreign extortionists, and we will not be doing that. All of our data are back up and running, by the way. We were able to restore every server using backups that we had. We know that those are clean backups, and they have all been checked to make sure that there's no extraneous code that could be used against us in the future. So all of our services are back up and running. Many people have been questioning over the last couple of weeks. It's been a little slower to process teacher certification. Some things have seemed glitchy, and that's the reason, is because we have been taking servers up and down to make sure they were clean, to make sure that everything flows properly, but now those things should be all working just fine. We will have, just as I'm talking, deployed a special website, a landing page that is just for this data breach. You can find that at alabamaachieves.org/data breach, alabamaachieves.org/data breach. And there is information on there now, and there will be additional information posted in the weeks to come as this investigation unfolds and comes to its conclusion. At this time, this is unfortunately something that everybody wants to know, well, what data exactly were breached. We don't know exactly what data were breached, and we can't disclose everything. Well, again, the attack on our system was interrupted and stopped by our IT professionals before the hackers could access everything that they were after. That we know. We are still working with our third-party investigator to do the diagnostics on exactly what data were breached. And as we know more information, we'll be working with the Alabama Attorney General in his office to make sure we fully comply with all the data laws that are out there. There will be more information to come. Again, it'll all be posted on that website. There's also a dedicated email address, and that's databreach@alsde.edu, databreach@alsde.edu. The website is live, but I also want to give notice to folks that the website will be on hiatus in just a little bit, as will the entire Education Department website. So we have, because of the ongoing work that we're doing, we had already scheduled to take down our website tonight for some critical updates. They asked me, they said, since you're doing this press conference this afternoon, would you like for us to delay that and maybe do the updates? And I said, if they're critical updates, they're critical updates. So at 5 o'clock this afternoon, the entire Department of Education website and all of our services will be down for a period of 2 to 4 hours before they come back up. Again, that was already previously scheduled, and I didn't want to reschedule it, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience that may cause for folks, but the site will be back up and working later tonight and certainly throughout the weekend. That's about all the information that we have for right now. I will be glad to take a few questions. I will warn you ahead of time for those of you who are used to my taking questions, and I'm always pretty forthcoming about answering questions, but there will be very little more that I can say because of the nature of it being an ongoing criminal investigation. But with that, Dr. Sibley, would you like for me to just take questions, or you want to call on folks? Again, ask people if you have a question, even if you're up here in the front, if you'd please go to the microphone so folks who are hearing the live stream can hear the questions.
I think there are so few of us in the room that if you would make your way to the microphone if you have a question, you'll go for it.
And all I would ask, if you'd identify who you're with before we do. Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Mackey. It's Rebecca Griesbach with AL.com. I was wondering if you could say anything additional about where the vulnerabilities were. I mean, did this come through a login or a phishing attempt or PowerSchool, anything like that?
Yeah, I wish that I could. I knew that question would come, but unfortunately, due to the nature of the investigation and under advice of counsel, we just can't give any of that information out at this time. Down the road, that may be something that can be shared, but again, we're following the lead of federal investigators. They are leading this investigation. Obviously, it's a federal investigation because it goes across national lines, and so we're not able to talk about that.
And one more question: do you know what the foreign entities are? Are they coming from a certain place?
It's a great question, and I wish I could answer it, but right now, no, I'm not aware. Shouldn't say I'm not aware. I'm not able to answer that.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Rebecca. Sorry about that.
Gemma Stevenson with the Alabama Reflector. I know you said you can't really give much more information, but at least in the news release it says student and employee data. Is there any information you can give about who might have been impacted?
Sure. So we can't give specific information, but on our servers we do keep backup student data and employee data, and those are State Department employees and local education employees. So there is a possibility, and again, I can't say specifically, and I know that people are going to want to know, do you know if my data are involved? I don't even know if my personal data are involved. Obviously, I have data stored on the site. I have 3 sons who went through Alabama public schools. I don't know if their personal data is involved. But what I would say is that to all parents and all local and state education employees out there, they should monitor their credit. They should assume that there's a possibility that some of their data were compromised. To that question, too, I'd like to clarify, and I know the website will clarify this more, but things like direct deposit information, we obviously don't keep that at State Department of Education. So if people are worried, could they have gotten my bank routing numbers or any of that? No, because we don't keep any of that information. But there would be some personally identifiable information that we have on students and teachers that might have been compromised. I can't say for sure who it touches, but any of those people in those groups should be aware of that.
And then you kind of already half answered this, but just in terms of like the scope of what might be out there, can you give any details?
Really, I don't have any more details than that. We've brought in a third party to help go through line by line and look at which servers were tapped into and what data are on those servers, so we'll have some idea of what could have been taken. We know that all of our, again, we interrupted this and stopped it. There's no question that the attempt was to do a denial of service, that they, as we've seen unfortunately in the news, where the hackers would come in, steal data, and then encrypt your data so you can't get it without paying them off. Fortunately, and I'm very proud of our IT staff, they stopped that from happening. But we know that before they were able to stop it, some data were accessed, and again, we're still assessing exactly which data were taken. We do have information about which data possibly could be taken because we're able to look and see which servers they were not able to get to in the time they were in there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Randy Scott, Alabama Public Television. Dr. Mackey, many times when an event like this happens, it's almost a diversionary tactic, if you will, where one entity is hit and others are hit without people knowing. Have you heard any concerns from any other entities within the school system of the state that have had concerns about suspicious activities? Or can you comment on that? And are you taking steps to help them stay aware of what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I cannot comment on our discussions with other state agencies, local education agencies. We certainly are always in those discussions with them, just as we take step after step after step to secure our own data. We're always working with school districts to try to help better secure their data too. I can't really comment on what's going on. I will say that I've learned, I was not surprised to learn this, but I've learned in the last several days just working with the experts we have in the field that there are data hacks all over the country that are successful every single day. Some of those are against public institutions like ours, some are against private businesses, some get more data than others get, some are able to get to the full end and lock down servers, and others like ours are not. But as they've told me, this is a nonstop battle against a huge syndicate of foreign hackers that are attacking American businesses and American public agencies nonstop on a daily basis.
Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you.
I do want to remind everyone that if you have questions, we don't want to get inundated with phone calls, but we do understand your concern. Data breach at alsde.edu. Data breach, one word, data breach at alsde.edu is the email address that you can reach out to with your questions and concerns about this, about the ongoing investigation. And in the days and weeks to come, we will be able to provide even more information as it becomes available to us. If there are no other questions, I think we will wrap up there. If, again, I know that we see some people coming in just a little late, but data breach at ALSDE. Feel free to reach out to us, and we will do what we can to provide any information that we have available. Thank you guys, and have a fantastic 4th of July.